All right, so I'm going to go ahead and recite this poem. It's actually called If It's Okay to Want. If it's okay to want, then I want someone to spend time with, laugh and cry with, get to heaven with, walk hand in hand with, lounge in front of the TV with, fight and make up with, walk barefoot on the beach with, read my poetry to, massage my mind and my body, and I massage his. Tell me I am beautiful. Pray with me. Listen to me. Give me real talk. Fly with me. Give a damn with me. Never lie to me. Take me to jazz venues, comedy clubs, museums, coffee shops, movie theaters, sports arenas, concerts, and plays. Remind me all will be okay. Dance with me. Thirst with me. Take a Sunday drive with me. Hop, hop, skip, and jump with me. To the moon and back with me. Chill on the front porch with me. Kiss me in the morning. Hold the door for me. Bring me flowers. Pull my chair back. Stir my coffee. Pour my wine. Kiss my forehead. Kiss my nose. Kiss my lips. Hold me until I fall asleep. Stay with me until I awake. Support me. Defend me. Protect me. Respect me. Love me. Yes, if that's okay.
Black Out Loud Media Group. Welcome back to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast, the place where poetry meets conversation. I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and before we get into today's topic, make sure you hit that plus sign so you don't miss an episode. Also, please subscribe to my blog, thebrownssugarcafe.blog, and if you find any value in this episode or any other episodes, make sure you leave a heartfelt review. So with that being said, let's get to it.
Oh, good day. I am happy to be here. My name is Rosemary Cy Turner, and I am currently in Western Maryland. Maryland. I am originally from Camden, New Jersey. Born and raised, spent my first 18 years of my life in Camden, and then I joined the military. I joined the Navy, did 20 years active duty, and let's see, I was stationed with the Marines most of the time because I was a Navy corpsman, hospital corpsman.
Okay.
Yes, and the Marines don't have their own medical department like the Air Force and the Army. So the Navy is their medical department. So I was a grunt corpsman, FMF, Fleet Marine Force is what they call it. And just, teach you how to do that belly crawl with your medical bag so you can be down there and know what to do.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Up in that situation, and I am so grateful to say I have not, but I know many who have.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm grateful for the years that I'm in the Navy and the Marine Corps and this country. So I'm blessed.
And we thank you for your service.
Thank you, Terrence.
The poem you opened with.
Mm-hmm.
What's the backstory behind that?
So I have a friend of mine. We were in the Navy together, and so I've been knowing her since I joined the Navy in 1980. And I've been knowing her since around 81. I think I met her around 81. And we've been friends ever since, really good friends. And so she was a dental technician, and I was a hospital corpsman. So we worked in the same hospital together, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so she when I started writing poetry seriously back in 2013, around 2015 is when I wrote this poem. And this is where I was at the time. And so when I did authored this book, my first book of poems, the poem that I just read was not in the book, and so she was very disappointed, and she let me have it. She was like, "Rosie, this book is beautiful, but I'm disappointed. Where is If It's Okay to Want?" And so I told her, she says, "You don't like that?" And I said, "I love it. But the difference is with this book that I just published, there is a distinct difference in what I wanted to put out." And
Right.
And so I'm still, God knows that this is still what I want. But the book, in contrast, it is more of the things that I need. And so and so I explained that to her, and she let me off the hook.
Okay.
So yeah. So I told her, I said, "Listen, this is still what I want, and God knows this is still what I want. I don't have to remind him, although I do. But she was telling me, "Rosie, you gotta please print that out and autograph it and send it to me," and I will, But and I appreciate the love for that poem. But in this book, the reason I didn't put that, like I said, the reason I didn't put this type of poem in the book is because the book is a reminder to me and to whoever reads it that you have everything you need. You just have to realize it. You have everything you need. And so this is the want, and in the book is everything I need. So that's the backstory on that poem.
Yeah, I've had a chance to dive into your book. Of course, I'm not done because it's so, and you can relate to this. Whenever I'm reading other poets' work, I like to digest it. I don't like to just run through it.
Absolutely.
And I love the title, Poems in a Bottle, Intimate Gifts to Restore Hope. How did you come up with that title?
Well, I have a writing coach, and it just so happened that she's a former Marine. Her name is in the book. Her name is Phyllis G. Williams, and I met her when I was living in North Carolina. And so at the time, she had, I think, her first book published at the time. That was around 2016, I believe. And so, and I had the spoken word CD published at the time, and that's how we met. I believe that's how we met. I think it was at a vendor booth, and so we've been friends ever since. So I moved back to Maryland, and last year I had back surgery. Okay. And so, couldn't do much. So while I was recuperating from the surgery, just trying to keep myself busy, and she invited me to a journal writing workshop. So it was about 5 weeks, I believe, and we met once a week, and it was really good. She's just so good at what she does, and I just had no idea that there were so many different types of journaling. And so I was glad to be in that workshop. So at the end of the workshop, she asked us to do a review. And so I did, and she reminded me, or she shared with me, that she was a writing coach and she loved my poetry. Because during the workshop, I did share, I can't help myself, wherever I am, I want to share poetry.
Right.
So I did share a couple of poems during the workshop, and she told me when it was all over, she said, "Listen, I'm a writing coach." So I jumped right on it, really, because I had been, I've been reminded by so many people, every time I share my poems, they remind me, you need to write a book, you need to write a book. And I do. I always wanted to write a book, but I wanted to also um, feel like it was the right time. And so prior to her offering her services to me, prior to that, it didn't feel like it was the right time. But when she offered it to me, it felt perfect. It felt perfect. And so as a result, we have Poems in a Bottle. And so we came up with the title. Well, she's familiar with my military background. And just by her, just the way you're asking me questions, she just asked me questions, and she helped me to come up with the title, come up with chapters, and it was just a phenomenal process. I was really, I really loved the process, and I feel like I can do it. Of course, I would always seek her help, seek her guidance on my next project. But I feel like I can do it on my own. And for that, I really appreciate what she has done for me.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I notice is the chapters that you have in here. And I like how you have the book broken up. Mm-hmm. That's something I thought about doing, but it seems like it never worked out for me, but it worked out for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And now that I'm thinking about it, how we connected, I believe it was Val the Voice Johnson. She was saying that we needed to connect because you were wanting to do your book and I had done a book, and that's how we connected. And I just remember always messaging you to see where you were with the process. And then out of the blue, you let me know it was out. And I was like, whoa, she didn't waste any time at all.
Well, it just happened. It literally happened overnight like that.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of how we met. I couldn't remember. I knew it was Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But I for which room it was. So thank you for that. Yeah, it was literally, I feel like it fell right into my lap when I wasn't really looking.
Right.
And so I felt like that was a good sign for me. So I went for it. I was like, what do you have to lose? You're not doing anything else at the time, at the moment. So I'm so glad. And yeah. So
I'm excited and happy for you. I'm glad this is finally out, and I'm enjoying it so far. It feels very intimate and personal, and it I can, from just the poems I've read so far, see that this is intimate gifts to restore hope. Mm-hmm. When it comes to restoring hope in this project, why was that part important for you?
Because when I was at my lowest, I'll try not to get emotional. But when I was at my lowest, it was hard for me to express or connect with the right people.
Yeah.
Even therapists, it's like you're sitting there and it's like they're not getting it. And so in my experience, I just felt like, let me just leave this appointment and just go back home and just try to work it out myself. And so after a few years of the people that were close to me, after a few years of just communicating with them and reading the Bible, reading scripture, and just praying and putting God first, that was one of the things, that was the main thing that helped me. It's like you have to go through this process. It's not going to change overnight.
Right.
You find yourself in a position where you can't see beyond. You want to see beyond today, but you can't see it. And so for me, it took forever, but I finally got the message that you have to work with today only. When you have so many things going on, tomorrow is not promised. So we don't want to, like the Bible says, you don't even want to focus on tomorrow.
Yeah.
Focus on right now.
Right now. Yeah.
talk to God. Keep that line, the line of communication open, and you just got to believe it. You just got to trust. And so it took me a long time, but I finally got it. And I'm so glad I did. And now I can look back on the things that I was worried about, the things I was driving myself nuts about, and they were all things I couldn't do anything about. So, but, at the time, you can't tell someone that,
Yeah.
especially, it depends on what the problems are. But at that time, so when I look back now, I feel like, wow, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't be here. Or if I hadn't gone through that, I wouldn't have this. And so I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that journey. Like I said, there are going to be other struggles, other things that, you just got to trust God and keep him with you, and you'll get through it. But I just pray that it won't be those same things. And
Right.
if I have anything to do with it, it won't be those same things.
Right.
God will equip you for whatever it is that you need to get through, as long as you trust him. And so I'm just so grateful that I finally got that message. And that's how I came up with the intimate gifts to restore hope. It's the people that were there for me, not the ones who were just, well, I've run into a few people who seem sincere, and I don't want to think anything bad about them, but I do believe, now that I think back, it was just to get information.
Mm-hmm.
When you need someone to talk to, there are people who will make themselves available, and they may have ill motives. And so you got to be careful. So that's why it's just so important, to find the quiet space. Don't feel like you always have to have someone to talk to, really.
Yeah.
Loneliness is not a good feeling, but sometimes you need to be alone, and so that you can hear what God wants you to do. You can hear the instructions. You can hear you can just hear, all the chatter that is interfering. You just have to focus and take advantage of the quiet time. And you got to humble yourself. You will hear what needs to be heard.
Yes. Amen.
The discernment it's powerful, Terrence. I know you know.
Yeah.
Powerful. And so I had the right people around me. I had, especially my brother. And, he just reminded me, he would feed the scripture, send me podcasts and, daily reading, things that will keep me uplifted and keep me focused on the things that I need to be focusing on, and not the things that I'm concerned about or worried about, So that's, all of those things helped me to come up with the title of the book, organize the poems the way that I wanted to lay them out for the people to hear them, and just to let them know, this is my hope for everyone, because it's so important not to lose hope.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know what more to say about it. It's just, I'm just so grateful for this moment to share it with people, because so many people don't have that support system that they need. And wow, I can think of so many things to say, but they're going to be in my next book.
Okay. Yeah, we can't give everybody everything right now. I just want to applaud you for going through this experience and not saying, okay, I've gone through this experience, I'm good now. But you said, I need to share this with people. I need to give people hope, because I'm a firm believer that we don't go through things just for ourselves. It's so that we can help other people.
I concur. It's not for you. It's always for someone else. It's for God's glory.
Yeah.
And so it's not always about you. And one of the things that you mentioned is how you share your story. This is a wonderful platform. And like I said, I'm grateful for this. But what I do, like some of the rooms that I join in Clubhouse, for instance, I like to listen. I find that when I do jump in, depending on what the room is, when I do jump in too early, it doesn't feel right. And so I step back.
Right.
And I prefer to listen. And because I grew up, I was very quiet and shy growing up as a kid. And I got a lot of information, believe it or not, from my parents' silence. I would listen to their silence. And, my mom, she was just so wonderful. She taught us by example. She didn't explain a lot of things. And for some reason, we got it. We got it. And we weren't perfect children, but, we still rebelled. But
yeah.
And most of the time with me, I can't speak for my siblings, but with me, I got it because of what she didn't say and what she did. So she was very good at that. She's been gone since 1995, and I still get instruction. I still get, think about the things that she did and how she raised us. And she worked so hard. And so I still get so much from her to this day. That's a little bit about the title of the book and how I came up with the chapters. Mm-hmm.
And we were talking in the pre-show, and you said that you just did a book signing yesterday.
I did.
How was that? Congratulations again.
Thank you so much. Again, that another first for me. All of these firsts.
Yes.
But I have to face my fears. My writing coach, she also advised me on the things that I should do after the book is published. And I really appreciate everything that she shared with me. One of the things is she shared with me is that when she has book signing, she tries not to have more than 10 people at a time. And so I stuck with that. And so I invited 10, and it turned out perfectly. It was at my home on yesterday, and I just made sure I made it a brunch and book signing. And so it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I just did it off the cuff. I didn't agenda. Of course, I had the food laid out for everyone, and the coffee and tea and the mimosas. And my son and my daughter-in-law were very helpful. They showed up early, and I'm so glad. They know me so well. They know me so well. So they were very helpful. And once we got everyone in place, I just asked if they had questions. And then they asked questions. I answered. I did a few readings. And then we did the signing and took a group photo, and it was wonderful. I was satisfied with it.
Yeah.
I can't tell you if it was the correct way or the wrong way, but it felt right.
It sounded like it was right to me.
Yeah, well, the goal was met. So yeah, it was the right way, because a few of them purchased multiple books, and I've never done a book signing. I'm never first time author, first time book signing, a lot of firsts, and it feels right. I feel like because I'm able to get my message out, I have so much poetry. I'm actually still trying to organize it. Really, it's all over the place. And that's one of the reasons why I kept saying, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready, And finally, I accepted the invitation to be coached and to get my poetry published. And it's still all over the place. I actually have a laptop that still has, I forgot the password. I'm going to get into it. It's an old one. There's a lot of poetry on there, but I was able to save a lot, and I put it on an external drive. So I felt good enough that I can use that information and go ahead and get something published. So I'll say that's the first of many volumes.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. And you, this may be your first book, but the first piece of work that I was introduced to you by was the spoken word CD that you have called Breaking News.
Yes.
Phenomenal job, first of all. It actually felt like a breaking news segment. I love how it was laid out. The music that you picked, I really enjoyed that project. Like, what was the brainchild behind that, and how did you get started with it?
Well, my brother Charles.
Yeah.
Well, people think we're twins, but we're actually 3-4 years apart, and have so much in common, And he's a musician, but I am not. But I love music. I think I'm the only person on the planet that loves music. That's how much I love music. Like, you can't compare to me when it comes to music. And I love all types. So when I was going through the things that I was going through, he was very, all of my siblings were, but he was very interested in what I was doing because he didn't want me to be, down and depressed.
Right. Yeah.
To keep it moving, you keep me inspired and, keep hope alive. Right. So he said, so what are you doing? I said, I just write a poem every now and again, Really? Well, why don't you share one of them with me? So I was like, okay. And he says, no, record your voice and email it to me. I was like, oh, okay. So I did that. I don't remember which poem it was. I did it, and unbeknownst to me, he put music to it and he sent it back to me. And it didn't even sound like me. Music didn't match it. It was. Yeah. I was like, that doesn't even sound like me. And he was like, that's you. But it was so beautiful. So we decided, he was in New Jersey and I was in North Carolina. I was actually living on Fort Bragg. They have apartments there for retirees. I think it's called Fort Liberty now, but it was Fort Bragg. And I had a job at the Army hospital there, and I lived on the post. So I was able to go home at lunchtime, and on my iPhone, I think it was like an iPhone 4 or whatever, I don't even know. And I would just record, like if he wanted me to record something over, instead of waiting until I got off work, I would go home at lunchtime and record it and send it to him. Oh. And he would send it back with music. So we talked about it, and I was like, well, I think, of course, he was the one that mentioned, let's do a CD. And I was like, really? Never done anything like that before. How did we go about doing that? And so what we did is he sent me a lot of his samples of his original music.
Okay.
Said, whatever poems you have, listen to these tracks or listen to these samples and try to match your poems with the music. That was a wonderful process. I love that. And of course that helped me, like in my moments of depression, that helped me, because I could turn on some of his music and try to match my poetry with it. So I did that. And so we had a meeting on the phone, and we discussed which, I may be leaving out a lot because I don't quite remember everything, but I remember, there were some of his music samples that were left over that I did not choose, but the ones that I chose, I put the titles of my poems, and he, we recorded them, and we did like 18 tracks, and the title "Breaking News." Now here's an interesting story about me. When I was a little girl, I used to love. Shout out to Philadelphia. Because that's like Camden is supposedly a suburb of Philadelphia, if they still call it a suburb.
Okay.
So we got all of their news channels.
Okay.
Philadelphia, Action News. And so ever since I was a little girl, and I would listen to the news, when the music came on, that's the only thing that got my attention, Loved it. And I just love that news. So the music. And so when it came on, I just loved it. It would just, if I was doing homework, I would just go over to the news. And then when they start the news segment, then I would go back and do my homework because I guess I didn't want to hear about.
Right.
I just wanted to hear the opening, song or whatever you call it. And then when it went off, same thing. That got my attention. So I didn't realize this when I was doing the CD. And so I was like, breaking news. Why am I, I didn't think about it later. Like, why am I calling it breaking news? Because I thought that one of the reasons I used to mute the television all the time, because I was living alone. I had separated from my husband, and that's why I moved to North Carolina. And so this is another first for me. And we've since divorced, but so I'm alone now. I'm away from my son. And so I guess the television was my company.
Yeah.
And so if I was watching the news, it was always, especially the big news channels, it was always breaking news at the bottom of the screen. And so that would get me anxious. And I'm like, why don't you just turn the TV off, And so I felt like they were abusing it because I'm like, that's not breaking news. We already talked about that.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to call this CD Breaking News. And that script that I came up with, I don't know if you got a chance to listen to Breaking News Part 1 and Breaking News Part 2, but it was all one poem, actually. And it was so long, that's why I decided to make it Part 2 at the end of the CD. I think it's track number 18 is Part 2.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Excuse me. And so, that's why we split that up. It was going to be too long. My brother, he gave me good advice. He was like, long, you're not going to keep their attention, so we have to split it up. So he's also a genius at what he does. And so I was just able to come up with those things. Now, when I first shared the CD with people, they did not believe that was me. They thought that was me on the other tracks, but on the Breaking News, they didn't think it was me. Because I came up with that whole skit, I had the weatherman or the weather girl and sports, the lottery, everything. My imagination was really working. And I enjoyed doing that. But that's how I got that. I got it from the love of the music when the news came on when I was a little girl. And the breaking news was from the abuse, I call it, of the that breaking news banner at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's not breaking news.
Yeah. We just talked about this. Yeah, like you said, they just talked about this an hour ago. It's like, how is it still breaking news?
Yes. And of course, the current president helped me to write some of the things that I was writing. So the president at that time.
Yeah.
Number 45. Yes. So, but thank you. I'm glad you like it.
So, well, I was about to ask you what's next, but it seems like you already have another book brewing.
Well, I have the material.
Okay.
And with me, I do things, you know, I mean, I don't have a business. Um, I do things, I'm more comfortable doing things at my pace. You know, when I have a desire to do something, you know, a lot of people say, well, do it, you know, tomorrow's not promised. And that's true. Um, but I don't feel like if it's something if I don't do it, that I did something wrong. I feel like there are other things that have should have precedence over me wanting to do something like that. And so I do want to publish another book.
Okay.
But well, there's no but. I will work on it, but like I said, it'll be at my pace. I don't have like a deadline to do it. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. Um, I just try to get my guidance from the Most High, because it just feels so much better for me.
Yeah.
I don't, everybody works differently. Even the CD. I mean, like what that I wasn't trying to pursue anything like that. It just happened.
Yeah.
And the way, even the book, to me, it just happened.
Yeah.
I was finishing up the journal writing workshop, and she just happened to mention to me, listen, I'm a writing coach and I love your poetry. I'd really like to help you put a book together. And so it just happened. So it's not something I was setting out to do. It's something that I wanted to do, but I didn't have like a set goal, a set timeline for it. But I do encourage people who want to become an author, or anything for the first time. If it's something that they really desire, then I do encourage them to get started with it.
Yeah.
And whatever it is that's stopping them, try to figure out what it is, and it's just another obstacle that you can work on getting that out of the way. If this is something that you want to do, you can do it. But I did have many other things going on at the time, and I just felt like I got to put this book on the back burner again, and it's okay. It worked out. Out. Glad it did. I surprised myself. Yes. So thank you, Terrence.
Will there be an audio version of this book? Have you thought about that yet?
I have thought of that, and that's actually something that I've always wanted to do.
Okay.
Even before I wanted to become an author, I wanted to read audiobooks, and I started to look at that. I stopped. It just, again, life happens.
Yeah.
And you just have to readjust or reprioritize, but that's always something, because I've gotten a lot of compliments on my speaking voice.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things thank you. That's one of the things that I've always wanted to do, and I still do, is, now that I have my own book, I want to read my own, but I'd love to read others, and I still may look into that. I'm retired now, so it's just me and my dog. My dog's name is Maya, and I have to put that in there so she won't be disappointed.
Well, if you decide to do an audio version of this book, I would definitely support. I can agree with that. Your speaking voice is very calming, it's very soothing, and it puts you in the moment of your poems. So I will definitely be looking forward to that if that comes out. Before I let you get out of here, do you have any final words, anything you want to share before we close out? And also, tell people how they can get in contact with you, your social media accounts, how they can purchase your book, and any other information you want to share.
Absolutely, Terrence. Thank you. I'd just like to, just to let everyone know that again, think about the things that you want and the things that you need. And the things that you need, you might think that you don't have them. But if you look around, if you just quiet yourself and you look around and just examine the things that, your circle, the things that you normally do, you have access to those things, even if you don't think that you have them at the time. You sit, I know I've done it. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, wow. Look at what God is doing. I'll think about things that, I think, I've had moments where I thought that I was without, but I really wasn't. I had so much more than I could ever imagine. I have a lot of accomplishments that I'm proud of. Some of them I had to go through the fire, but I'm proud of it. It's made me stronger, so much stronger. And so I want people to know there's a poem in here where I forget the name of it. I'm flipping through the pages here. There's a poem in here about just being there for people, letting people know somehow that if there's anything you can do, that you're right here to do it, especially if you're one that has been through something similar that they're going through. Don't force yourself on people, because that doesn't work with me. That just pushes me away further.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
That's just one of the things that I want to share with everyone. And the book, again, it's called Poems in a Bottle: Intimate Gifts to Restore Hope. And it's by me, Rosemary S. Turner. It's on Amazon, sorry. It's on Amazon, but you can also email me at letterperfectllc@gmail.com, and I will be glad to ship you an autographed copy. I will say the Letter Perfect is, I got that from my favorite artist of all time. I don't know if you can guess, but nobody tops him. And that's the late Al Jarreau. I've been loving that man and his performances since I was, 14 years old. And so it's, that's where I got my email address from.
Okay, yeah.
Yes. And so I don't have the LLC anymore. I was attempting to have that when I was living in North Carolina. I was going to start a greeting card company, and I didn't go through with it, and so I kept the email address. So your listeners, they can email me again, letterperfectllc@gmail.com, and I would love to ship you an autographed copy, or whatever questions you may have. Feel free to send me an email. I appreciate it. And God bless everyone.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for this body of work and putting it out there. And I just want to say to my listeners, as always, remember, keep pushing forward.
Thank you, Terrence.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brown Sugar Cafe podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Terrence P. Elmore, and this is the place where poetry meets conversation. Hit that follow button and turn on your notifications so you won't miss an episode. Check out my blog, thebrownsugarcafe.blog. Also connect with me on Instagram at thebrownsugarcafe. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and as always, remember, keep pushing forward.